Hey everybody, in this video I am going to discuss how to build major triads, and this will be the foundation for a lot of melodies, a lot of chords. Then you can start using those to build bass lines, or construct harmonizations to any chord progressions you may come across, any progressions that you may write. So it's a really useful tool in creating music, and also figuring music out once you get the sound in your ear and you hear that in certain types of music, and then you can figure that out on your own. And we're going to go about it a couple different ways. So in previous videos I discussed chromatic scale, I discussed intervals, and I also discussed how to build a major scale using half steps and whole steps. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to review the major scale, and then build a triad from that, and then we're going to use intervals to build a triad as well. So the idea is whatever of these approaches makes most sense to you, then that's going to help you most in your playing and to develop as a musician. So we're going to begin with C, 3rd fret on the A string, and then we're going to play a major scale, and I'll just go review it really quickly. And the formula, as discussed before, we have a root note, whole step, half, whole step, half. And then also think of the descending order: root note, half, whole, half, whole step, back to the root note. So by knowing that formula, you can construct a major scale, and it's good to play major scale different places on the bass just by using that formula. Then that really gets you familiar with combining those whole steps and half steps to make that scale. So no matter where you are on the bass, you can find that pattern. Another good thing, think of the letter names: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. And back down: C, B, A, G, F, E, B, and then C. Then you can just also think of the fret numbers as well: 3, 5 on the A string, and so on. 2nd fret on the D, 3rd fret. So, like I said, whatever makes most sense to you. But ultimately, it's really good to know as many of these combinations as you can, just depending on who you're playing with, how other musicians speak to you, and it's great because then it expands your ability to communicate with all types of musicians. So building a triad from a major scale, you take the first note of the scale, in this case it's C, 3rd note of the scale, it's going to be E, 4th note is F, that's not part of the triad, and the 5th note is G. So we have our first note, C, of the scale, D, 2nd, E is the 3rd, F is the 4th, and then G is that 5th. So you have 1, 3, 5, C, E, G. And then if you study the chromatic scale, or you build C major scales all over the bass, then you can pick all the C's, E's, and G's all over the bass, and just in many different combinations as you want to do, you can figure out E, G, C, E, G, E, G, C, E, G, C. And it's just going throughout the bass and just picking out all the C's, E's, and G's by knowing it's the first note, the 3rd note, and the 5th note of a major scale. And in this case we're using C major scale as our example. This can be applied to all the major scales. Then in a previous video I discussed intervals, and you can also look at a triad as stacked thirds. So we have a root note, and then the next note of the triad is 2 whole steps from that root, which is a major third. Then the next note of the triad is a step and a half from the note there, and that's going to be the 5th. So you have a root note, a major third from that root note, 2 whole steps, then a minor third, which is 3 half steps, or a step and a half, and that gives you the 5th of the triad. So root, major third, minor third. Root, go up a major third, and then from that note of the triad, you ascend a minor third. So no matter where you place C, 2 whole steps to the next note of the triad, step and a half to the next note. And then getting from that note of the triad, which is the 5th, to the root that is higher than that, that's a 4th. G to C, which is going to be 2 and a half steps. So if you're thinking in intervals, you have your note, you go up a major third, ascend a minor third, and then you ascend a 4th. Root, ascend a major third, ascend a minor third, ascend a 4th. And then now think of it descending as well, going to lower pitches. Root, down a 4th, down a minor third, down a major third, down a 4th, down a minor third, down a major third. So you're thinking of intervals stacked on one another, and that will also help you build major triads. And then that's how you build your chords. When you put them all together, and when you find different combinations of all those notes together, you just play all kinds of things just based on the triad notes. And you can go through that and you can figure out all those notes in all the different keys. You can start major triads on any note. So that's kind of the step-by-step process of figuring out triads on the bass. So whatever makes most sense to you, go ahead and use that. And I hope you can come up with some own exercises and ultimately write some really cool bass lines or some really cool music, just with that little bit of knowledge, because it can go a long way.